Okay then, we have a little time now to delve into some of the wisdom of yoga. It's like an ocean, actually, which has no bottom. No, there's no end to the depth of the wisdom of yoga. So we can speak about it, explore it, dive deep into it from many, many different angles. So before I attempt to speak, I'll take a moment to prayerfully meditate, to pay my respects to my spiritual teacher, and hoping that I can be of some service to others by sharing this wisdom. I have something that I can read which will be a springboard into a topic. But again, if there are any of you who would like to, if you actually have a question, you don't have to make one up for me, but if you actually do have a question, then this is what this time of the evening is for, is to actually, to try to offer you what it is that you're looking for in your life from the perspective of yoga, whatever, not just worries and stuff, but like, how do I go deeper in my spiritual life, things like that. Is there anyone who'd like to ask before I kind of take it down the track? Yes, sir.
There are some fabulous mantras in the Vedic tradition.
Yes.
Why is the repertoire so narrow always here?
The repertoire? Yeah, it's very specific. We take guidance from our spiritual lineage, and we take guidance from the Vedas. What you're saying is absolutely correct. There are unlimited different mantras. But those mantras which are, we can say, is of the most value. Like there's mantras in the Vedas that can also help a person overcome the effects of a poisonous snake bite. That's also in the Vedas. So there's different results that a person can achieve by chanting certain mantras. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to purify our heart and our mind of the contamination of material existence, to uncover our real nature. So ultimately, even if it comes down to it, you can even have a smaller repertoire than what we're using to achieve that goal. So we're not trying to satisfy the mind's jumping, I want a different mantra, I want a different lyrics and things like that, just to satisfy, the natural urges of the mind. Because, we like different melodies, we have different tunes and different melodies, but the mantras that we have received in our spiritual lineage have a spiritual potency that we are trying to share. The mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is described in all of the Vedas, in the Upanishads, the Puranas, etc., as being the Maha Mantra. The word Maha means the greatest, mantra meaning transcendental sound. So it can be understood and explained in a very simple way to consider, just for your consideration. It's like having $1 billion mantra. If you have $1 billion, automatically within $1 billion you have 1 million, you have 10 million, you have $100,000, you have $10, you have $5, right? You have $1. So all the different denominations, is that the right word, of coin, of money you can have, they're all contained within this $1 billion. So all of the other mantras, of the unlimited ones, as you're saying correctly, it is described in the Vedas, which is where we're getting our information from, our teachings from, our wisdom from. Just this one mantra, Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, this is described as and experienced by the sages who have then passed it on, that this is the Maha Mantra. Of all mantras, this is the greatest mantra. And all other mantras are contained within this Maha Mantra. So it's like You don't have to separately go and get, like, to come back to the example of $10, of the $1 billion. You don't have to separately strive to or find $100,000 separately from your $1 billion, because it's part of it. You don't have to go and, okay, this mantra is $1 billion, this is $1 million, this is a really good mantra, and it'll have this really good effect, $100,000 or $1 million. But if you are given a gift of $1 billion, then you are no longer searching for anything else. You can achieve, this is not a perfect analogy, of course, because there's people who have a couple of billion, right? So, but you understand the point that I'm trying to share. So, and in the teachings, in our lineage, it's called the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, our spiritual lineage. In there is a great transcendental personality called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who appeared in India some 500 years ago, and he inaugurated this widespread chanting, of kirtan, of mantra, of the names of the Supreme. And in one of the slokas that he wrote, he says, "Oh my Lord, you have hundreds and millions of names." So we completely understand that there are hundreds and millions of names of the Supreme that we can chant and we can meditate on. And he says, you have invested all your transcendental potencies or spiritual strength in these holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. So Chaitanya is putting forward this reality that most people, most of us in the world, we have very little attraction for spiritual life. But we are so fortunate that if we come into contact with a bona fide spiritual lineage in which these transcendental mantras have been purely handed down, we can receive them as a free gift without losing any potency at all. The full spiritual potency is there in these mantras. So that's why this is in our spiritual lineage. We're not saying these are the only names that you can chant. Absolutely not. But it's a little bit like, one reason, because we've received these mantras in our sampradaya, our spiritual lineage, and because the flavor, the spiritual experience that will be had through chanting these very simple names, Krishna, Hare, Rama, Gopala, Govinda, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur. There's quite a few there, really, if you look at it. Then what we're trying to do is enter into that spiritual experience. That's the goal. That's the purpose. And that's what we can all achieve. So people in other spiritual lineage may chant other names of God, and we don't say, no, you shouldn't. You should only chant Gopal. You should only chant Krishna. No, absolutely not. Even the understanding is like, for instance, in the Islamic tradition, they have many, many names of the Supreme, not just Allah. There's this beautiful chant, we can call it, which is, I've heard, online, of course, but they have this amazingly beautiful chant of the 99 prime names of Allah. So it is full of 99 different names that in that particular spiritual tradition they chant. So we're not saying, oh no, that's not coming in our lineage, you can't chant that. No, these are genuine, bona fide spiritual names of the Supreme. And in the Christian faith also, they have many, many, in the Holy Bible, they have many names. So it's a little bit like we can't do them all. Like, why don't we chant the 99 names of Allah also, right? Are you against that? No, absolutely not. We embrace how wonderful it is. And like, I'm not a scholar in any way, but in the Holy Bible also, there are many names of the Supreme Soul. Eloi, El Shaddai, Abba, right? It's a couple. So why don't we chant, you know what I mean? So that question can actually roll on and on and on, and there will always be someone who says, well, why aren't you chanting these other names? Because there are literally hundreds and millions of names of the Supreme. So we have to kind of bring it down a little bit, you know what I mean? And as I said, in harmony with the Vedic teachings, we could just chant the Maha Mantra and that is enough. Because all the other mantras, all the 99 names of Allah, the names of the Supreme Soul in the Holy Bible, they are all contained within the Maha Mantra. So they can be directly experienced. Like, maybe we can speak a little bit more about it. Like, each one of the different names of the Supreme embody different qualities of the Supreme Soul. So Allah basically means the all-compassionate. So this is a quality of the Supreme Soul, or God is full of compassion. Jehovah means something like the all-powerful. Eloi, El Shaddai means God is the rock of my existence. So the different qualities of the Supreme are contained within these different names. So the name Krishna is not a sectarian name. The name Krishna is another name of that same Supreme Soul, of which there is only one, original cause of everything. But Krishna is sweeter than God is all-powerful, or God is all-compassionate. Krishna means the all-attractive, the supreme attractive. So compassion is an attractiveness, attractive quality, right? Beauty, love, tolerance, care, compassion, all of these different qualities are there. So the reason why we particularly chant these names, as I said, because they're coming in our spiritual lineage, and we're trying to represent our previous acharyas or spiritual teachers by simply sharing what has been given to us. And the name Krishna is particularly sweet. It's actually the sweetest of all of the unlimited hundreds and millions of names of the Supreme. Krishna is the most sweet because it is the most close. You know, it's like, you know, different people like me. I'm one person, but I have many, many different names. You know, I'm Mr. Lindsley to some people when they call, or I go in for an appointment. You know, they call me, good afternoon, Mr. Lindsley. You know, how are you? So it's formal, more formal. You know, someone I get to know a little bit more at work or something could be, you know, they might call me Ray or Brian. Other ones might call me G'day mate, because the relationship is a little closer, right? Much more closer. Someone might even call me, how you doing, you old bastard, right? It's an Australian, for those who don't know, that's an Australian greeting. How you doing, you old bastard, right? And it's a term of affection, you know. And then, you know, my son calls me dad. On and on. Different friends call me, you know, buffhead, you know. So these are terms of endearment. You know, and my wife calls me different names as well. Some I'll repeat and some I won't. So it's all to do with the relationship. Is that understandable? So I'm one person, but I don't have hundreds and millions of names, but I have quite a few, you know. Sir is another name. Someone, you know, policeman calls me over, sir, you were speeding. So similarly, there are many and unlimited names of the Supreme. So as I said, if this is okay, if you may consider this, that if this is our lineage, this does not mean we feel superior to or any better than anyone else. It's just this is our spiritual lineage. And as we are chanting them, we are experiencing some of the transcendental nature of these names, Gopal. So these are, the names we're chanting are generally more intimate in nature, more friendship in nature than God, how great thou art. Or, you know what I mean? So therefore, because there is a sweetness of closeness in these names, referring to these qualities of the Supreme, therefore we are very attracted to them. And because actually this Maha Mantra is actually described and can be directly experienced as encompassing the whole reality. So the whole spiritual reality and the whole material reality and all the incarnations of the Supreme Soul and all living, spiritual living beings, everything all different types of relationships with the Supreme Soul, all wisdom. The Bhagavad Gita is contained within this Maha Mantra. So, many people study the yoga wisdom books, which is a good idea, to say the least. But we also understand the nature of transcendental sound. And in this transcendental sound, everything that we are looking for is found. So let us, whether it is these names that we are singing here, let us try to actually enter into the experience of these transcendental names, and we will derive great benefit from it. And our heart will become more and more satisfied. And as our heart and mind become more purified of the unwanted things in our life, then the more we will enter deeper into this ocean of spiritual love, which is ultimately the goal of existence. Is that okay? Is that all right?
Great answer. Could I ask another question?
Sure. We've got a couple of minutes.
You mentioned that the Maha Mantra encompasses, what was it, all qualities or all names?
Yes.
Yeah.
All names.
Can you go further and explain how, like maybe can you embellish that concept for me?
Yeah, the simplest way to understand it in what how I can explain it to you is the $1 billion idea. In $1 billion you have $100,000. In $1 billion you have $10. So these are different different types, different amounts of money, right? And you can do certain things with a certain amount of money. With $10 you're lucky to buy, I don't know, a packet of chippies these days, right? So there's certain names also which connect to certain qualities of the Supreme Soul, like God, right? That's the name for God, is God. But God's like Mr. or Sir, right? It's a very formal and distant type of thing. So you're not going to be able to experience a very close, deep, intimate connection with the Supreme Soul from that relationship of God, just the name God. You understand what I'm saying? Am I able to trying to explain a little bit? So, but ultimately, let me wrap it up with this idea for your consideration, for all of our consideration. To try to actually understand the Maha Mantra, or any of the names of the Supreme Soul, is ultimately impossible through the agency of the imperfect mind and senses. Our material mind is imperfect. Our senses are imperfect. So to try and wrap around and grasp the reality of what I'm trying to use in explaining with words is ultimately futile, because of the limitations of language and the limitations of the material intellect to be able to encompass within it that which is beyond the material, that which is unlimited, the Supreme Soul. But let me give one example, if I may, a couple of examples, which will let us know how we can come to understand these ideas which we're using words to communicate with. Let's say you meet someone and you say, wow, oh man, did you see the sunset last night? Or the sunrise here on the East Coast? The sunrise yesterday was unbelievable, so beautiful. Now the person that you're talking to has never seen a sunrise, ever, in their whole life. And they ask you, can you explain to me, what do you mean, beautiful sunrise? What is that? Well, the sun comes up and the rays go everywhere. And you try and use, various words. And they may have grasped a concept of what, we're trying to communicate. But will they have a full understanding of the beauty of a sunrise through our words? What do you think? Will they have the same experience that you have had when you saw that beautiful sunrise through your words?
Probably not, no.
Well, definitely not. So And so we'll just hold on to that for a moment. Then let's say someone is a mother. And the love between the mother and the child is very deep, right? Very close. And the mother who is nursing her child, feeding her child from her breast, when she looks at the baby and the baby is looking at the mother, there is a certain connection there, obviously, right? So if someone has never done that, they've never had that experience, and they ask the mother, what's it like nursing your child? What do you experience? Can the mother explain fully, even to another woman or another parent who's never had a child? That connection and that experience, it cannot be conveyed very well through words. Okay, so what's this leading to? Well, for that person who you tried to explain what the sunrise was like, what you can do is you can actually take them to the beach so that they can personally see the beauty of the sunrise here on the Gold Coast, which can be amazing at times, right? So the way that person will come to know what you were trying to communicate to them is by actually helping them to have the experience themselves, and then they will understand what you mean when you say amazingly wonderful sunrise. They will have an experience of it. Similarly, if the mother is trying to explain to someone else, the bond between the mother and the child, and they try to explain using various examples, but when that person, if they become a mother and they are nursing their child, it is in that experience that they will know what the other person was talking about previously. So similarly, to actually know the experience of what is there within these holy names, what is there within the Maha Mantra, is to directly experience it myself, to enter into that experience. And as the heart and the mind gradually become more and more purified of the material conditioning and contamination, then I'll begin to taste a little tiny bit of that reality of what the Maha Mantra is. And then as I continue to meditate with it, then gradually over time it will become deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you can directly experience yourself, what is the nature of the Maha Mantra. So it should be experiential. Spiritual life is not something that we can join, like a group or an organization or anything like that, or even declare our allegiance to a holy book or a holy saint. We must take that wisdom and those practices, and I must apply them in my own personal life. And only then will I come to actually experience the reality that is being expressed to me through this wisdom teaching. So that's also part of the reason why we are chanting these names, because we have become a little addicted to them. When we chant them, there is something very wonderful taking place within us. So therefore we want to chant more. So there's nothing to lose, there is only something to gain. And if we understand that there are hundreds and millions of names, they all have spiritual potency. If someone is of a particular tradition and there are particular names in their tradition, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, yes, chant those names. Chant those names. Doesn't say just Krishna, just Govinda, just Gopal. No, he does not say that. But we here, this is how we like it. Thank you very much.